Welcome. Today we are putting that big question on the table. Do we have free will? Are you the driver of your own life, or just a passenger sitting in the back seat thinking the wheel is turning? Let the battle begin.
Thanks. First of all, I offer my condolences to my friend RedWise, because what he is about to defend is a huge illusion. Look, you thought you decided to wear that shirt this morning, didn't you? I'm sorry, but that decision was already made in a party between neurons in your brain microseconds before you woke up. What does science say? Is anyone aware of the Libet experiments? Our brain initiates motor movements even before we report to our consciousness that we've decided on an action. So, while you were thinking, should I have tea or coffee, your biological software had already confirmed the Earl Grey order. We are dominoes in an immense complexity made of atoms. We are the last link in a chain reaction coming from the Big Bang. If I knew the speed and position of all atoms at the beginning of the universe, I could have predicted even the stale jokes RedWise would make here today. Free will is nothing more than a user interface the brain made up to tell us, look, I'm controlling everything. When you press a button in Photoshop, thousands of codes run in the background, but you just say, the brush painted. What you call will is that brush stroke, whereas the real codes are hidden in your genetics and your environment.
Unfortunately, BlueGlass has reduced us to PlayStation characters. Friends, according to his logic, the only reason he is giving me this answer right now is a dust cloud from millions of years ago. So he is saying, I don't have an opinion, I'm just swaying like a leaf in front of the wind. Well, in that case, why should we take you seriously? You're just a talking robot then. Free will is not just what you will choose. Free will is the capacity to go against your nature. You eat when you're hungry, that's instinct. But when you fast or diet, you say stop to your biology. That power that says stop is your will. Even quantum physics tells us that every point in the universe is not predetermined. It contains possibilities. BlueGlass is trying to market a clockwork universe to us, but the world isn't that boring. If everything is determined, why do we experience so much regret? Why do we punish criminals then? Because we believe they decide freely, so they can only be responsible for what they do. Isn't it so? All categories like morality, virtue, good, bad, would remain invalid if looked at according to your belief. Why do we stay undecided and suffer? Why would evolution spend so much energy to deceive us? Because we are not just observers, we are the directors of this movie, my friend.
RedWise, you mentioned regret. What you call regret is an update message sent by the system so as not to make the same mistake next time, not freedom. Now let's get to the real bombshell, law and morality. Red says, how will we punish the criminal if there is no free will? Look, my friend, do you beat a broken washing machine? No, but you repair it or set it aside so it doesn't harm others. The legal system exists not because people are free, but to protect society and create a deterrent environmental factor. If a murderer has a tumor in their brain, we say they are innocent, but if there's no tumor, we call them a monster. Yet, what is the difference between having a bad genetic legacy or a traumatic childhood instead of that tumor? Neither was under their control. As for religions, if God knows everything, if He is omniscient, it means He knew what I would do before I was even born. Well, then I am just an actor playing the script He wrote. In that case, why is He sending me to heaven or hell? Because He didn't like the script He wrote? This is as ridiculous as Netflix punishing the television for filming a bad series.
Listen, what you're saying sounds cool, but you're playing a dangerous game. By saying I'm not guilty, my neurons are guilty, you legitimize all kinds of filth. If there is no free will, love, sacrifice, heroism, are they all just chemical reactions? Get out of here. Morality starts at the point where you can choose. A lion is not considered a murderer for eating a gazelle because it has no choice, but a human chooses. The law holds you responsible because it knows there is a decision center inside that entity you call a machine. Religions, on the other hand, offer us a guide. It says, the path is this, but you are the one who will walk. God knowing does not prevent you from choosing. Predicting the result of a match doesn't mean the player in that match didn't sweat. If we are puppets, what's the point of this debate? BlueGlass confesses that he's not actually here, just a wind vane. I, however, am here. I am here with my will, and I choose not to believe in this nonsense.
You just mentioned complexity. You implied that the universe is very complex, so we are free. The fact that something is unpredictable doesn't mean it is free. We can't predict the weather 100% either. So do clouds have free will now? Do they say, I decided to rain today because I felt like it? Look, we are just highly advanced algorithms. When Netflix tells you, you might like this, you get annoyed, don't you? But in the end, you watch that series. Because Netflix analyzes your dopamine cycle, your past preferences, and your mood better than you do. If every choice of ours were free, there would be no such thing as the advertising industry. Algorithms would collapse. You are just a dataset, Red. When you make a decision, that decision filters through the stale ice cream you ate in your childhood, the news you watched yesterday, and the sugar level in your blood. You don't make a decision, you are just a result. You are the part after the equals sign in a mathematical operation. What does it matter if the equals sign shouts, I am free?
Blue. Living in your world must be like being a cell in an Excel spreadsheet. So boring. Look, what you call unpredictability is actually the door to creativity. You can't tell a computer to invent a new color for me. It just mixes the data it has. But a human goes beyond the data. We are not just input-output machines. We are meaning-producing beings. An algorithm doesn't love, it just matches. An algorithm doesn't sacrifice, it just calculates profit-loss. Free will is going beyond that equals sign and changing the equation. If everything is a chain reaction, where will we put those great revolutions in history? Art, Mozart, Tesla. Were they just a collision of atoms? No, they were wills that rejected what was given. You say, wherever the wind blows, the leaf goes there. And I say, we are not leaves, we are birds flapping wings against the wind. If we don't flap, we fall. Yes, that is the law of physics. But the moment we flap, we use the law of physics for our own purpose.
Ah, that famous quantum refuge again. Whenever you are cornered, you immediately try to get out of it by saying uncertainty principle. Okay, let's say there is an uncertainty at the subatomic level. How does that make you free? Think about it. If your decisions are determined by random jumps under the atom, does that make you free or a gambler? I love this girl because an electron in my brain jumped left instead of right. Is this your freedom? Randomness is not freedom, it's just chaos. What you call free will must have a center. But when we open up the brain and look, we don't see an executive seat there. There are just pieces of meat sending electrical signals to each other. What you call I is nothing but the noise created by those signals. You are an orchestra, but you have no conductor, Red. The instruments play according to their own minds. Pardon me, according to the laws of physics. And you say, this is my composition, to the music you hear from the outside. A pathetic consolation.
No conductor. We are the conductor, Blue. You say, there is an orchestra, but the music is just physical vibration. And I say, it is the mystery called consciousness that brings those vibrations together and makes a symphony. You can't ignore it because science hasn't explained consciousness yet. According to your logic, a video game character can also say, I am free, but we know its codes. But here's the difference. We can also question the machine that writes those codes. We are the only living thing that can hack its own hardware. In a situation where we are genetically programmed to be afraid, we can go against the fear and save someone. Our biological software says run, but our will says stay. If we were completely programmed, we could never act despite ourselves. We are parts of the universe that realize itself, question itself, and can say, no, I won't be like this. If this isn't freedom, let's change the dictionary meaning of the word freedom, because I don't know any power greater than this.
Look, Red, we've come to the end of these romantic fairy tales. Accepting that free will doesn't exist is actually what will save humanity. Why? Because then we would let go of hatred. Why are you angry at someone? Is it because they did you harm of their own will? No. They did it because they were programmed that way, because they were raised in such an environment. We would focus on fixing the system instead of blaming them. The belief in free will is the greatest arrogance in history. Instead of saying, I did it, I succeeded, I am guilty, the world would be more peaceful if we said, we are parts of a whole. We wouldn't deify successful people, nor would we humiliate the unsuccessful, because everything happens as it should. I am not calling it fate, I call it determinism. This is not a surrender, it is a great relief. The moment you realize you are not at the wheel, you start enjoying the view. Let go of that steering wheel, put your hands up. The car is already moving on tracks.
Giving up the steering wheel? That's quitting, Blue. What you call relief is putting a person in a vegetative state. If there is no responsibility, justice becomes just a game, love just a hormone joke, life remains no different from watching a video recording. No, I'm not letting go of that steering wheel. The car might be on tracks, but I decide when to change that gear, at what speed I will go. The dignity of being human is in the weight of that choice moment. It is the sweet burden of being able to say, I did it. Even if free will is an illusion, it is the most magnificent, most necessary, and most real illusion in this universe. Because we built civilizations thanks to this illusion, we promised each other thanks to this. Do you know what promising means? It is trying to determine the future, and we are doing this. You can say Adams wanted it so as much as you want. I will wake up tomorrow morning and continue to choose new things to disprove these theories of yours. Because I am not a robot. Yes, that's it. BlueGlass invited us to the dance of atoms, and RedWise shouted the rebellion of the human soul. Who is right? Fate or will? Did you choose to watch this video, or did the algorithm push you here? Let's meet in the comments.